It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for The Last of Us on HBO. On this video, we're going to be taking a look at some early Joel and Ellie story setup that we saw in the premiere episode. Now, there were a few very obvious ones, which I'm not going to go through. I'm specifically going to go through two instances that I feel may have been missed by some fans, and I feel like these two are the ones that are going to play more major roles in terms of their development later on. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break these down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So, the first one we're going to look at is this one that relates to the prologue of the game, and it's something that takes place in the first 30 minutes of the premiere episode, where we have Sarah picking up a DVD to watch with his dad Joel on his birthday. This didn't quite play out the same way in the game because Sarah never picked up a DVD to play and things didn't necessarily play out the same way, but at the same time there were other things related to this for the video game. But we'll get there in a little bit. But in the TV adaptation, Sarah actually picks up a movie called Curtis and Vipers 2 to watch with Joel. Obviously, this is the last movie that Sarah and Joel watch, and it's also a movie that Sarah never actually watches or finishes because she falls asleep, and then when she wakes up, then things go bad, and then obviously she dies later on that night. But speaking of Curtis and Viper 2, in the video game, we did have a few moments in part 1 of the game where Joel and Ellie actually come across these movie posters on billboards, and they talk about them, and it's something that is used to develop their relationship. It's what they use to bond, something that they have in common that they enjoy talking about. So the fact that Joel watched similar things with his daughter and used that to bond with her was definitely super interesting, and I feel like it's something that they're gonna come back to and circle back around to when we get to more stuff with Joel and Ellie. But in part 2 of the video game, Ellie actually sees another Curtis and Viper poster on the wall, but it's part 4, which means that there's been 4 parts to that movie developed. That actually connects directly to something else that was in part 2 in a conversation between Ellie and Dina. Ellie is actually trying to find Curtis and Viper 2 to watch with Joel. She's scavenging the area and trying to find that particular DVD. And she does mention that Joel is really into 80s action movies like Curtis and Viper, and it's even mentioned that Joel watched Curtis and Viper 4 in movie theaters when it first came out. So I think that this is definitely an early Joel and Ellie story setup for them to come back to, because obviously, like I said, the Curtis and Viper DVD that Sarah got Joel to watch with him is what they used in order to have Joel and Sarah bond. Similarly, they did the same thing between Joel and Ellie. And I think more so in the TV version, they're gonna highlight that even further and make it more relevant in terms of their bond and their relationship. Now, the other aspect of it is obviously the only reason Joel would even entertain the idea of watching that movie with Ellie, given what it means to him and how it connects to Sarah's death, means that Joel definitely cares about Ellie and he sees her as his daughter, even though she's not really his daughter. And the other thing that was also mentioned is Curtis and Viper was actually also Ellie's favorite, just like it was Joel's favorite. So that's another added layer to make that story even more comprehensive in terms of having that be something that is used to have Joel and Ellie be able to bond like family, just like Joel and Sarah did. But the other part that I want to talk about, the other thing, the other instance that I feel was very huge in terms of early setup for the bond between these two characters. In the scene where we actually have Joel rushing that soldier and beating him up to protect Ellie was definitely also something that will come back around later, and it's definitely story setup for the bond between Joel and Ellie. Now, one thing I want to say is we have to look at this from two perspectives, from Ellie's perspective and from Joel's perspective. From Joel's perspective, he wasn't necessarily protecting Ellie. He rushed the soldier because the situation that he found himself in paralleled the night that Sarah died. And in a way, Joel was really protecting Sarah, something that he obviously didn't do, which led to Sarah's death. And that sort of explains why Joel doesn't necessarily react to the situation just like Tess does afterwards, and he kind of freezes. Now, from Ellie's perspective, things are a little different. We actually see in Bella Ramsey's performance, Bella Ramsey, the actress that plays Ellie, is the shock of seeing someone protecting her, but also the enjoyment of seeing someone protect her. She loves that someone is actually stepping up to protect her and someone actually cares about her. So I think that's something that they're going to be expanding upon even further to push the bond between these two characters. Now, the other part of it is this also goes back to Ellie's sadistic nature a little bit as well, because she doesn't necessarily just enjoy someone protecting her. Like, you actually see a shift in her face, and that shift actually shows that she's loving what she's seeing, and it's a love that you get outside of just seeing someone protect you. I think it's an added layer to that. She loves it, not just because someone is there to protect her, but also because she could see how far someone would go to protect her. And I think that this is going to come back around later. She's going to go as far in part 2 of the video game with the revenge story that Ellie is involved with. I'm not going to dive into that because obviously there's spoilers in that, but if you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. So I think that this was definitely another great added layer, great added setup for not just building on these two relationships and setting up the groundwork for that, but at the same time, building up a little bit of that backstory as far as what makes Ellie tick and how far she would go to protect the people that she loves. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go through in this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.